Negligence. Negligence consists of falling below the standard of ordinary reasonable person. The test is objective, based on the hypothetical person, and it involves the defendant either doing something the reasonable person would not do or not do something which the reasonable person would do. It does not matter that the defendant was unaware that something dangerous might happen, if the reasonable person would have realized the risk and taken steps to avoid it. Negligence plays a minor role in criminal liability. It used to form the basis of some driving offenses, but this has largely been suspended by recklessness. Negligence adheres to an objective standard. This is strictly applied. The main role for negligence in criminal law is with regards to the gross negligence manslaughter. This requires the prosecution to establish that the defendant owed a duty of care and was in breach of duty, which resulted in death. The current test for establishing liability for this offense was set out in R. v. Adoma Co. 1994. The appellant was an anesthetist in charge of a patient during an eye operation. During the operation, an oxygen pipe became disconnected and the patient died. The appellant failed to notice or respond to the obvious signs of disconnection. The jury convicted him of gross negligence manslaughter. The Court of Appeal dismissed his appeal, but certified the following questions to the House of Lords. In cases of manslaughter by criminal negligence not involving driving but involving a breach of duty, is it a sufficient direction to the jury to adopt the gross negligence test set out by the Court of Appeals in the present case following R. v. Bateman 1925 and Andrews v. Director of Public Prosecution 1937, without reference to the test of recklessness as defined in R. v. Lawrence Stephen 1982 or as adapted to the circumstances of the case. His conviction for gross negligence manslaughter was upheld. The Lords ruled that the law as stated in R. v. Seymour 1983 2 AC 493 should no longer apply, since the underlying statutory provision on which it rested have now been repealed by the Road Traffic Act 1991. The certified question was answered in these words. In cases of manslaughter by criminal negligence involving a breach of duty, it is a sufficient direction to the jury to adopt the gross negligence test set out by the Court of Appeals in the present case following R. v. Bateman and Andrews v. Director of Public Prosecution 1937. In cases of manslaughter by criminal negligence involving a breach of duty, it is a sufficient direction to the jury to adopt the gross negligence test set out by Court of Appeals in the present case following R. v. Bateman and Andrews v. Director of Public Prosecutions 1937, and that it is not necessary to refer to the definition of recklessness in R. v. Lawrence 1982. Although it is perfectly open to the trial judge to use the word reckless in its ordinary meaning as part of his exposition of the law if he deems it appropriate in the circumstances of the particular case. Basically, the test that was established was whether the conduct of the defendant was so bad in all the circumstances as to amount in their judgment to a criminal act or omission.